hidden in the original language of Cain and Abel's story, is a shadowy figure pushing Cain over the edge to murder. One day I was reading the famous story of Cain and Abel when I saw something that I had never noticed before. A hidden character. Somebody else may have been lurking in the shadows, or something. The story goes that Cain and Abel both brought sacrifices as a gift to God. Abel gave God a firstborn lamb, and Cain gave some vegetables from the ground. But for whatever reason, God wasn't impressed with them. I mean, it wasn't like God came down on him or anything, but for some reason, Cain gets ticked off. And that's when we see the first clue that maybe all is not as it seems in this story. It's hidden right there in the passage. God says in Genesis 4, "Why are you angry? And why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it." A footnote in the Cultural Background Study Bible made my jaw drop. Apparently, the phrase "sin is crouching at the door" might be more than a mere metaphor. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Akkadians had stories of a demon known to crouch near doorways, waiting to ambush those who walked by. So, could there be a spirit in this story messing with Cain's mind? And if so, what does the story mean? I had never heard this interpretation before, and sometimes when that's the case, that makes me feel a little bit skeptical. So we're gonna have to do some digging. I wanted to know if any other legitimate scholars confirmed or denied this theory. I turned to a well-respected book by scholar Gordon J. Wenham, Word Biblical Commentary on Genesis. To my surprise, it mentioned the demon theory and gave me a second clue. The Hebrew word for crouching is roves. That probably means nothing to you, but this might. This word, roves, derives from the Akkadian word Rabisu, a noun used for a type of demon. Bingo! This type of demon had a tendency to sneak up on their victims when they walked through a tent doorway, so they became known as the Crouchers or Lurkers. No, no, no! Not again! Not lurkers! Anybody else get that reference? Just me? Initially, the story seemed just like a simple tale about jealousy, but that demon sounds suspiciously similar to the description of sin crouching at Cain's door. So now I'm wondering, did Cain have an encounter with a demon? This new information is going to require us to reinterpret the story. It's time to break out the big guns. Not those guns. Let's consult the Dictionary of Deities and Demons in the Bible. If this book mentions the possible presence of a demon, then I'd say we're onto something. And indeed, it does. Rabisu is the title, not a name, for a sneaky demon. But the book had some reservations as well. The Akkadian demon was not known for tempting its victims. It was said to have physically ambushed them. Why is this so hard? At this point, I'm second-guessing myself because the people writing these books are a lot smarter than me. Their skepticism messes with my head, so now I'm wondering if I'm even on the right path. But one strange clue got the attention of scholars. Check this out. God says to Cain, if you do not do well, or in other words, if you do not do your best, sin is crouching at the door. Look at these two words. In Hebrew, words have gender. They can be masculine or feminine. Well, in this passage, they kind of break the rules of Hebrew grammar. Sin is the thing crouching at the door, right? The gender of these two words, sin and crouching, they should match, but they don't. The word translated as sin is feminine, while the word crouching is masculine. I hated English class too, so for people like me, let's make this super simple. It's not like the writers of the Bible didn't know their grammar. They did stuff like this on purpose to get our attention. An oddity in the grammar might mean there's an important theological point hiding there. It's actually genius. The presence of both masculine and feminine words leads scholars to believe that sin wasn't just acting alone to influence Cain. This wasn't just about Cain having an anger problem. There was some other external force involved, waiting to break him down and strike when he was most vulnerable. Cain fails to manage the anger inside. Something overtakes his rational mind. Before he realizes what's happening, he's killed his own brother. Now that sounds suspiciously like the demon we've uncovered. This title for the lurker demon, Rabisu, it's a word borrowed from an older language, Akkadian, and it has another possible meaning. So once again, we're caught between two different interpretations. The word Rabisu could also mean a government official. So if I sin, is the Internal Revenue Service going to come to my house? That'd be a nightmare. Yeah, that's funny. But there was no government back then, so our job is easy. The only option between the two that makes sense is a lurking demon. But why did the author draw attention to this? Like, what's the point? It's the imagery of an external attacker that mattered to the writer. The question here is, was there actually a demon tempting Cain? Or is this just poetic language, personification used as a metaphor for sin? There is another story that could help us solve this mystery. What other story involves the spirit tempting humans to do something forbidden and ends in exile?
Yes, Adam and Evil.
Adam and Eve. Thank you, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Cain's story is their story all over again, when the serpent tempted Adam and Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. So think about it. Putting these two stories together, Cain stands in the position of Adam and Eve. Abel's life could represent the forbidden fruit. Our mystery demon fills the shoes of the serpent. And then Cain's punishment for killing Abel is exile, while Adam and Eve were also exiled from Eden. Cain is sent off to live like a nomad. Looking at the two stories together, it becomes more clear. In Adam and Eve's story, they didn't just decide by themselves to take the forbidden fruit. There's very clearly another spiritual being there tempting them. The final clue that we need to understand this story lies in what God says to Cain right before he kills Abel. Let's revisit Genesis 4, verse 7. God says, "Why are you angry? Why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it." Look, people don't just wake up one day and decide they're going to kill their brother. More likely, he wasn't managing his own anger problem. And that caused it to grow into a volcano. You and I can't fight a non-physical entity like a demon. It's not like we can karate chop it in the face.
Karate chop you!
I guess God could do that, but he doesn't in this story. Instead, He asks us to do something to protect ourselves. In the story, it seems like God tried to alert Cain as to what was happening. He straight up asked Cain to manage his emotions, and he said, "You must master it." But Cain didn't, and it left this new serpent figure, this Rabisu, with an opportunity to strike him when he was weak. Unfortunately, Adam and Eve's story becomes a template. It's a cycle. We're all gonna relive it in some version. We're gonna face our own vulnerabilities and serpent figures who try to take advantage of that. Managing our internal emotions might be a way to help protect us from some external threats. Dang it. I was really looking forward to using those voodoo dolls I made of my enemies. But how about a deep dive into the serpent? Because I think we both know it wasn't just a talking snake. Watch this video next.